Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing good. Now today I'm joined by Freddie, who has been on my channel before, and we'll be chatting about Arsenal women today, about the game tomorrow against Brighton. Obviously Jen Beattie as well has announced her retirement, so there's going to be a lot of stuff we'll talk about today. But first of all, Freddie, how are you doing and how's your day been?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Busy day back at London Colney. Heard from Renee Slager, Steph Catley, Mikel Arteta, and Leandro Trossard. So, yeah, very exciting day. Sort of day you really enjoy, but obviously looking forward to the game tomorrow. Shame the men's and women's are at the same time, but hopefully good results for both.
I know that it's an annoying thing when you're trying to watch them both at the same time, but obviously, like you said, it's a very exciting time for both of the clubs. So I think that's amazing. And I thought we could start off before we speak about the women's team to speak a bit about Jen Beattie because we heard some news that she's retired, and I think we sort of like it's not a massive surprise to me. I didn't think it would happen yet. I thought it might happen in maybe a few years. But what's your overall thoughts on this, and what do you think is next for her in like a football career? If she's gonna maybe work in TV, or what do you think she'll do next?
Yeah, it's a good question because my first instinct was she'll go down the punditry route. I was listening to Five Live on Saturday and before going out and doing a game, and she was on there and spoke really well. I think they were just sort of covering the Premier League all afternoon. But also someone pointed out to me earlier that even during the end of her sort of playing days of Arsenal before she went to Bay FC, she played a bit of a mentoring role with academy players. She also had sort of a role on Arsenal's marketing team as well. In the same season where they obviously sold out the Emirates for the first time in that Wolfsburg game, where obviously she popped up and scored the equaliser very famously. I think there's a lovely part to that game, the fact that she scored such a famous goal and had herself played a role in making sure those 60,000 people had been there. So I think really there are a lot of options open to her. I think the fact that she's up for broadcasting, her dad is quite a well-known rugby broadcaster, I think. So I think she's that's definitely something she'll start with. But I'm quite keen actually to maybe put it to Renee Slagers at some point.
Yeah.
Would maybe look at having her back at Arsenal in any sort of role. She could do the broadcasting, she could do some coaching, she could do some marketing. I mean, she's a jack of all trades, isn't she, Jen Beattie? Same on the pitch. She played up front, she played at centre back. She can do everything.
Yeah, like you said, I think it wouldn't surprise me if she had some sort of role around the team because we know how much she loves Arsenal and what she's done for the club in the spells here at Arsenal. But like you said, I think I also wouldn't be surprised if she was a commentator, a pundit, because we have sort of seen bits of her doing that, and I think she would do really well doing that. And obviously, I wish her really well on what's next. And yeah, I'm excited to see sort of what sort of happens with that. And it's really nice when someone retires, you get to sort of see what they've achieved. And obviously, she's achieved so much in her career, and she's done absolutely incredible. So I feel really, really excited for her, and obviously for the women's team. It's been a bit of a while since we played. Obviously, we played Crystal Palace and we did really well. And I was sort of thinking about this game, how are we going to go into this game? Will the players gel? Because I suppose after a break, you might be a little bit, you might not gel as much and you might, still be a bit tired or not used to playing. But what was your sort of thoughts of our performance after the international break?
Yeah, I think it was probably a good game to come back into. I think you look at probably building up to these huge games against Chelsea and Manchester City. I think obviously they were meant to play Bristol City in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
That's now going to be between the Chelsea and City games. But the fact they don't have to come back in straight away against Chelsea, I think is obviously good. There's Brighton tomorrow night. It's a really busy few weeks for Renee Slagers. And surely, apart from her first, obviously, couple of weeks when she took over as interim manager, certainly opposition-wise, this is going to be the most difficult spell of her time so far as interim manager and now permanent head coach. So I'm really intrigued to see how she does get on, particularly in these Chelsea and Man City games. I think it was a case of some good in-game management from Renee Slagers, which we're seeing more and more of. I think Arsenal were not quite themselves in the first half. She was quite critical of their first half performance after as well. But I think the second
Yeah.
half, they're looking at how they can better get through Palace, who, just Arsenal are quite good at doing this to teams that when they go, 1 or 2-0 up, they can then really put teams under the pump and put the goals away. I think Palace, they came to Arsenal in a 5-4-1. They're a good defensive side, they do have some attacking threats with players like Annabelle Blanchard, but they almost, the way they set up was just saying, you know what, we're going to come here and just try and, you know, mid to low block Arsenal, try and get a draw up the game if we can. And they held Arsenal quite well, but good to see, you know, some of the goals that went in the end. And in the end, a comfortable win for Arsenal. And, you know, still probably the scoreline looks brilliant, but I don't think they were phenomenal as well. So probably not like, you know, Rene Segers hasn't gone, you know, I'm permanent manager and now I've taken it by storm. It's actually probably just a nice one all around to come back in with after the winter break.
Yeah, definitely. I think obviously with that game being postponed, the Bristol City one, I think it was just really nice to see the team back. And like we said, the first half, you know, maybe is what we sort of expected after the break. But I think the second half we picked up so much, you know, we had a lot of chances and it was really nice to see other goal scorers. Like I thought it was nice to see obviously Beth Mead as well get a goal and just other players, you know, having those minutes. And we could give, you know, players like Leah Volti a bit of a rest, bring her on, you know, later in the game. And I think I thought it went really well. And obviously Renee Segers is sort of, you know, she's sort of our coach now. And I wanted to speak a bit about her because obviously when Jonas has left and she's come in, I thought, do you know what, I'll be interested to sort of see how the players react to a change of, you know, a manager or just a change of someone in the coaching role. And I just feel like we're just doing so well at the moment. The team feel full of confidence, and I just wanted to get your thoughts on her, the job she's done, her obviously being sort of our manager for the sort of future.
Certainly from a player's perspective, I think it's really interesting because there's always a risk, obviously, when one manager leaves and you can sort of lurch from one extreme to the other. You know, Jonas Eidevall is a passionate coach, quite differently described to someone like Joe Montemurro. I think we touched on this before, and Leah Williamson spoke to us about it as well. And obviously, there's a risk that Jonas can go, and then you get someone maybe on the other end of that spectrum, and players have got to really adjust from one coach to the other. The benefit, obviously, as we see of a lot of interim managers, is that they are well liked by the squad. They're a coach, you know, they're in their own right as well. And then players really have to make the adjustment of them becoming, you know, taking that more senior role and maybe almost less friendly with the players, if you like. But I don't think that's the case with Renee. I think she's earned their respect anyway as sort of an individual development coach. And then you see the way she's in training with the players, her being an ex-player and not quite recently, but, you know, she'll have played against some of these players. She's played with Stina Blackstenius in Linköping in Sweden. And I think you can really tell she gets what the players want. And I think that's why they've got such a good relationship with her. I'm not saying that managers who didn't play the game, you know, aren't as good as managers, but I think you can really tell the way she laces up her boots, goes out there with the players. You know, there is that respect earned, but also you have to have that bit where actually you're not best friends with all of them. And she's obviously, you know, able to be that stern figure as well. So, yeah, I think it's been really good. I think Matt Beard, the Liverpool manager, when he said after Arsenal beat them quite narrowly and what wasn't a good display, the fact he said, I really hope Renee gets the job. It's night and day from where they were. I think that was quite telling because he didn't have to come out and say that, but he was, you know, really complimentary of Renee Slagers. So tactically, there have been subtle changes, some bigger than others, like Steph Catley at centre back, if you like. But I think definitely more mentality and, you know, a happy dressing room again, I think has been absolutely pivotal. And it's been really enjoyable to watch how she's changed things.
Yeah, like you said, with Matt Beard's comments, like we all said, it was obviously really nice for him to say that, and like you said, he didn't really have to say that, and I think it's nice to hear an outside perspective on it because I think as Arsenal fans, we were really seeing the progress, and I think this season will really tell what she can sort of do with the team. But I do think we needed that change, and I think the team just seem a lot more energized. I mean, it's crazy as well with like players like Alessia Russo because I think last season fans felt we wanted a bit more from her. And this season, I just feel like the confidence she's got is absolutely unreal. And I think a lot of that is to do with the manager. And I think, like you said, her playing in the game, she knows a lot about it. She's experienced it. So I feel like the players can relate to her as well, and I think she's probably like an easy person to come up to if there's any problems. You know, you can just talk to her, and I just feel really happy that she's here, and I think it's obviously going to be amazing to sort of see what the future holds for you. Like this season, we obviously know the league is quite tight with obviously Chelsea a little bit further than us. Do you feel like winning something's very important for Renee, or do you just think we've just got to end the season as good as we can and knowing that Rennie probably has a bit of time here?
Yeah, good question. I mean, when you're still in all 4 cup competitions, I think she'll feel they've got every right to go on and win one. She was part of the coaching staff that won the Conti Cup last season. Now the Subway Cup, of course, with Brighton tomorrow. And I mean, you beat Brighton, and you're a Manchester United or Manchester City. Um, we saw the game between those two on Sunday. That probably
Yeah.
both sides have got weaknesses to be exploited. So you've probably ended up on the nice side of the draw as opposed to playing Chelsea. So I think that's obviously a competition that looks quite doable. Arsenal have underperformed in the FA Cup. That's another one the fans want because obviously it's your Wembley
Yeah.
game. It's that more prestigious. As much as we love the League Cup, even with the new sponsor name, the FA Cup is the one that everyone wants to win. I think realistically, Arsenal need to beat Chelsea to have any chance of staying in the title race. I think 7 points behind against a Chelsea side that you feel is only going to get better. And then the Champions League. I mean, we know you can be amazing in the Champions League and then turn up and just get beaten by Barcelona in the final. That can happen. But we saw the Arsenal side that reached the semi-finals. Actually, when you rally together and you get behind your manager, get behind each other, incredible things can happen in that competition. And again, if Arsenal can land themselves a nice quarter-final draw, we're looking at potentially a few different cup semi-finals without getting ahead of yourself. And I think Rene and the squad, they've got the experience of winning trophies now. And I really do think, she will believe quite quietly that Arsenal can bring home some silverware.
Yeah, and there's no reason, not to believe, because I think this team now is obviously so good. We've got such a bigger squad now, and I think she's getting the best out of these players. I know we said ourselves, an FA Cup would be so magical and it'd be great for this team. But like we said, it's going to be interesting how we sort of deal with, like you said, the tougher tests against maybe the Chelsea, Man City, United, and like Chelsea, we're playing them. It'll be interesting to see how she does against them, because I think we have had a tough run of games. Like we've obviously had Bayern in the Champions League, and I thought to get the result we did was very good. So I don't have any doubts we'll do well, but I'm really excited to sort of see how she does. I've got a question from Daniel. Big up, Daniel. How much rotation do we see tomorrow, given the huge game this weekend? What do you think? Because that's a good question.
Yeah, I'm expecting a fair bit tomorrow. I was thinking about the defenders earlier, and Katie McCabe has started 25 games in a row. Arsenal told us on the Sunday. Steph Catley's obviously been an ever-present. I think obviously the fact you're coming off the back of a winter break, it means probably the legs are a bit fresher, but also you don't want to overload the players too quickly. And I think Dan makes a great point. Chelsea on Sunday, you don't want to get knocked out of the quarterfinal, but I mean, this Chelsea game is almost like a final in the league, isn't it? It is keeping the title race alive, and even still, that might make no difference come the end of the season. And Arsenal have got the resources. We know they have. Stina Blackstenius now, for example, is back from illness. There's so much competition in midfield, perhaps less so out wide. It'll be interesting to see who starts on the wings. Caitlin Ford, obviously, Kate Mullen did well. But I think defensively, you probably want to leave 1 or 2 players in, but can you give Laura Wienreuter a game? Can we get Lotte
Yeah,
Wibben or Laia Kadina into the side, and then maybe changing things around in midfield as well? Tough, isn't it? Because it is a quarterfinal, but I think we know Arsenal, even if they make changes, will have such a strong bench to call upon. So I think you do rotate your squad and back them to deliver.
yeah. I think with like you said, with the defense, I think we could probably give a few players a rest, because I know obviously we've got Kadina, Ruben Moy. You could switch up if we need to. I know the players have had a break, so they might be happy to play, but I think we're in that position now where we can sort of rest a few players, and the midfield's an interesting one as well, because I know we've got like Kim Little as well, and I think this season, I think we know probably in her career she's probably got a little bit left in her, but I think with her injuries as well, I think we've got the options now to sort of rest certain players. And yeah, I think like I said, in the attack, if we want to, we can bring on a few different players. Like Blackstenius obviously wasn't there for the game the other day, but I think hopefully she'll be back, because I think she's a very special player. I know there's been a few little rumours here and there. There's been a lot of rumours at the moment as well about Ruben Moy as well. And do you think that she would leave Arsenal? Because I do think to myself that obviously she's very talented, and I think at the moment with Steph Catley and Leah Williamson, they're such a great duo together, and they work well. And I don't think you should change it. But I also think for Ruben Moy, she's so good, and I just think for her England career for the Euros, it's like, does she want to get game time somewhere else? But I also can't imagine her being anywhere else other than Arsenal.
Yeah, there's a couple of points there. I think I spoke to Steph earlier and said, and she was really interesting in terms of, she said when she's played centre back before, it's been sort of as an emergency when other players have been injured, but now it's a tactical thing, to get that left-footed centre half in, and obviously she's done really well. But I said to her, you must be watching your back all the time when you've got like Adina Lotta Wibben-Moy, Katie Reid, Amanda Illistedt coming back, and obviously that's pushed her level even more and more, keeping
Yeah.
those out of the team. With Lotta, I would say I don't think she's a player who Serena Wiegmann has massively considered, even when she was starting and performing really well. I was at England v Switzerland, and she was quite brutal about Lotta Wibben-Moy and where she sees her in her plans, because I don't think she got any action in the last international window. So I don't know how much Lotta will be thinking about the Euros. She'll probably at this stage be thinking, let's just make the squad, because as I say, even though she's been playing really well and she was player of the season obviously for Arsenal, she still wasn't really getting much of a look in. But you are right in saying, there are players, I think probably look at Katrina Kuhl leaving, who want to play regular football up to the Euros. So I can't see Lotta leaving. I have no information really to suggest that. I can see why people are thinking along those lines, because a quality player like her does want to play more. And I would be surprised, again, I'm not sure. I did ask Renee if Katie Reid's going to go alone, and she didn't want to be drawn either way. But I don't know how Arsenal are going to manage having sort of 5 or 6 top quality centre backs, keeping everyone happy. The best time to do it is going to be the next few weeks when you've got these cup games. So I'd be surprised if Lotta doesn't start tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, defensively, like we said, we're quite lucky and fortunate to have all of these options right now. But I think it's going to be sort of tough to, players to get chance. I mean, Katie Reid as well is a very good player, and I think for her, will she go on loan? It'd be interesting to sort of see what happens with that. But I think she definitely gets the minutes she deserves, and she's a very good player. And obviously, Ruben Moy, it's an interesting one, like we said, with the Lionesses, because you look at the defenders now at Chelsea, Man City, Leah Williamson and so. It's sort of hard to fit everyone in, and at United as well. So I think it'll definitely be a tough job for Serena. But I think Ruben Moy will love Arsenal, and if she stays, she'll be happy. But obviously, at the moment, nothing's really happened with these rumours. I think it's just sort of. I think Arsenal at the moment are quite happy with how things are going. I mean, I think we've got a very, very good squad at the moment, and obviously the back of the win against Crystal Palace. How do you feel about this game tomorrow? Are you feeling confident? Because I know Brighton. I will be honest. I think they have improved so much over the last few years, and I think it won't be an easy game up against them. But I know that we've got a really good squad, like we said, to rotate and to maybe rest some players.
Yeah, we've done well against Brighton the last few seasons, and it's interesting because every time we come up against them, I sort of think this is a Brighton side who can't be underestimated. There's some real quality in the squad. I think Frank Kirby is out tomorrow, but you've got Champions League winners in there like Vicky Losada, Paulina Bremer, and Kiko Seika's come in and done really well. So I think she scored a hat-trick on her debut of coming in the summer. And then obviously someone like Nikita Paris, who I think always will have a bit of a point to prove when she plays up for Arsenal, because it may quite work out for her under Jonas Eidevall's coming back up against us. But every time we played them, and I've sort of thought, I think Brighton will give us a game today, it hasn't often panned out like that. And I think tactically, Arsenal have often done quite well against them. That 5-0 win at the Emirates, Brighton just got their tactics all wrong. They're trying to play football like Dario Vidosic, and look, they're 5th in the league. They're only a few points behind Manchester City, and they're within every right to be there. How seriously are they going to take the Subway Cup tomorrow? I'm not sure how high it's going to rank in their plans, but obviously the fact it's done extra time and penalties, that often brings you more into the game a little bit. But yeah, I'd be confident for Arsenal tomorrow, because as we say, I think they are going to rotate, but I think they've got more than enough depth and quality to be able to hurt Brighton. It'll be interesting to see how Brighton set up, because they'll have surely learned some lessons from the Emirates.
Yeah, definitely. I think for that game, I think, like you said, I think obviously we were really good, but I think, like you said, tactically, I think they made like a few mistakes. But I think Brighton's always been one of those games for me where it's never easy. And like we said, they've got some really good players. Like you said, Nikita Paris. It's always weird when we play against her because I know obviously she did a time at Arsenal. It didn't go in the end the way we want it to, and obviously she went to United and she's not Brighton. I think it's a good move for her, obviously getting regular minutes, and I think like a lot of players getting regular minutes if they want to be in England team or whatever team. I think it's a great way to do that. But I agree. I think tomorrow, like I'm quite happy with. I feel like we've built this trust with Rennie now that I think whatever lineup she puts out, I'll feel like confident in it, and I think I'd be happy if we did make quite a few changes to the team because, like we said, I think we can really afford to do that. We can afford to bring in a few different players in our attack. Like you mentioned before, McCabe's played a lot of games, and I'm sure she's happy to do that. But I think at the same time, it would be nice for her maybe to get a rest and maybe not to get burnt out. Not now, but I mean in the next few weeks. So I think we sort of need them big players for sort of the Chelsea game because I think that's going to be a really tough test. And I wanted to ask you a bit about that Chelsea game because obviously right now, we're quite confident, we're in form, the players for me, I think would be ready for this game. But do you think it's the right time to sort of play Chelsea considering how we've improved with Rennie and how much confidence the players have?
Yeah, definitely. Looking back on the last few games against Chelsea, I think what's killed Arsenal has been individual errors. I think you look at, I think it was the opening goal from Lauren James where sort of Manu Zinsberger palmed it up in the air and it sort of sailed over her head and went in. And the complete off night Arsenal had at Stamford Bridge, obviously with the sock gate and everything, where defensively they made so many
Yeah,
errors and were sort of out of the game at half time. The same at the Emirates this season, two poor bits of defensive play, a lack of organisation in a game where Jonas Eidevall has now admitted he knew he was going to resign after it. So I think, the last two games are probably Chelsea they have outclassed Arsenal, but Arsenal have
yeah,
made less of their own making, if that makes sense. And I think, you look back at the Conti Cup final and games like that, we know Arsenal can go toe to toe with Chelsea. This is the first chance I think we'll see Rene Slager's really, really tested. I think Bayern Munich obviously was, but this is the
yeah,
toughest game. I mean, this is the toughest league game, full stop, isn't it? Going to Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, and for Rene Slager's, this is the one where almost that win over Bayern was the club going. You know what? If she can take on Bayern, I reckon she'll have a good shot against teams like Chelsea and Manchester City. I think we know if Arsenal turn up and play their way, tactically they can go toe to toe with Chelsea. And obviously the defensive strides, 5 clean sheets in a row in the WSL is massive because Chelsea are scoring goals for fun and I think are only going to score more goals as the season goes on. But I think for Arsenal, it's, maybe putting that mental barrier of that defeat at Stamford Bridge and also the defeat at
yeah.
the Emirates. Chelsea have had the rub of the green, but Arsenal, thrashed them at the Emirates last season, beat them in the last 2 Conti Cup finals. It's always spicy. Not quite as much between the managers this time. Sonia and Renee are very, very different to Emma Hayes and Jonas Eidevall. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it because, this might come back to bite me, but I think we're going to see Arsenal pose a real threat to Chelsea. And I think the Chelsea's attack versus Arsenal's excellent defense is going to be really, really interesting.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited for this game. I know, like you said, when we played Chelsea, it's we have been getting results like a lot in the last few years, and we've been doing a lot better. But like we said, it's always quite back and forth. They'll win some games, we'll win some games, and obviously it's very very competitive. And I think, like you said, with our last game against Chelsea, I think it'll be interesting to sort of compare it to the game we'll play because I think the team at the moment do seem to be showing a lot more fight and they just seem like they have more freedom when they're playing football. And I think going into that game, I think it's just like you said, it's going to be really exciting to watch to see how we sort of do. And I think with Rennie, I think, I mean, if things didn't go right, I think she's still the right person at the moment. But I think it'll definitely be a big test for her. And I know obviously we're quite lucky to have a lot of experienced players around the team anyway. And I think, like we said, we've got a lot of leaders, and going into this game, everyone knows like how big it is. And like you said, with the league, obviously Chelsea are on about 31 points. We're on 24 joint with Man United. So I think, like I said, if we can win that and close the gap a little bit, I mean, I still think it'll be hard for us to win the league. But do you think there's any chance at all? Because I just don't see Chelsea like dropping a lot of points.
No, I don't. I was at Leicester v Chelsea at the back end of 2024, and there was a bit of me like Chelsea looked really poor for large parts of that game, and there have probably been games where they've won, and obviously they've been on this brilliant unbeaten run, but actually footballing wise, still haven't reached their best, which can be quite scary considering their position in the league table. But obviously the teams around them, haven't given them enough
Yeah,
problems in a couple of their games against, the top sides in the league. They brushed past Manchester City, for example. Manchester United were far too passive. Arsenal, as I say, made those defensive mistakes. It'll be really interesting because I think maybe we will see teams start to catch up with them and put pressure on them. But Sam Kerr's going to come back. Lauren James is going to come
yeah,
back. Are Chelsea going to go to new levels and, really, really walk the league? So, yeah, it's really interesting. I can't see them slipping up from this position, but all it takes for Arsenal is a couple of wins, and potentially Chelsea. Can you spark a bad run of form? And obviously, all of these top teams, we've got 3 English teams for the first time in the knockout stages of the Champions League. Everyone's squads are going to start getting tested now. You can see that with Manchester City, for example.
yeah.
So it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, I think with Man City as well, like, I mean, that game against United was, crazy, and it's great to sort of see how, competitive it's getting with women's football. But I think, like you said, Man City are facing, injuries, Alex Greenwood's being, a big loss, and I think obviously a few of their players have left, which I've seen today, and I think
Yeah,
Chelsea are very strong, and Sam Kerr's coming back, and they're quite lucky to have be in that position. I think we're quite lucky as well because I think at the moment our squad is pretty strong. And with the Champions League, obviously, we've got some incredible. I think Carl Denti, bringing her, has given us that experience as well. And but for
completely.
you, yeah, how far do you think we can get in the Champions League? Because I feel like I don't put any pressure on Rennie. It's her first sort of season with us, and I'm sort of seeing how it goes. But I do think we can go far with this team, and we've really shown that the team has grown in so much confidence.
Yeah, I think fans are right to have good expectations. I think it's Man City, Lyon, Wolfsburg, and Real Madrid are the options, I think, for Arsenal in the quarterfinals after they won the group. And you look at a few of them, Wolfsburg have underperformed, City is struggling, Real Madrid are
Yeah,
probably the team you want to draw against. So again, get a night one of the so-called weaker sides out of that draw, and then you're looking at semi-final. I think Arsenal really can believe that they can go all the way, not necessarily win it, because as we say, teams like Barcelona are out there and have been so dominant in the competition. But I do feel like it's the same with the men's team that they were talking about today. Sometimes you can actually put your focus more into some of these supposedly more difficult competitions because there's less steps to getting to the final. And it's frustrating almost that the draw is next month for quarterfinals in March after the group stage finish in December. But as you say, Rene's proven she can go up and beat Bayern Munich, and maybe the fact that fans are not going to go easy on her, but they're not going to be saying Rene
yeah,
out, knocked out of these. That's quite nice for her to know. Of course, the pressure is there of the Champions League, but fans aren't expecting Arsenal to win the Champions League. But inside the camp, they can believe, what, we could go on a run, get to the final, and give everyone a nice stay out in Portugal in this in the
yeah.
warmer. So yeah, there's definitely a lot to look forward to. And as you say, I think Chelsea, even if it doesn't go well for Rene, they'll pick themselves up and move on, as will the fans. I'd be really intrigued to know how Chelsea feel about this game, whether they feel this is a really bad time to play Arsenal, because certainly different to what it was under Jonas in the reverse fixture.
Yeah, because I think when we were going through like a bit of a tough time, and obviously me to my leaving, and a lot of us sort of questioned a few things. I think that game came at really good time for Chelsea. But I also think when we play Chelsea, we are a lot up for it. It's sort of the lower teams that we struggled with. So I think they'll probably be worried more than us about this game. I think, like we said, I think there's no reason why we shouldn't feel confident, and Rennie and the team, should always believe, because like we said, I mean, I don't expect to win the Champions League this season. I don't expect to get to a final, but I think as the players will give it their all and do what they can. I think that's obviously what's important, and I'm just excited to sort of see how that goes with the team. But yeah, I think Renee's obviously done such a great job, and I think going into our games, I think a lot of us do feel confident. I mean, I have said this in one of my videos: we will lose at some point, and the good winning streak will eventually go. But I think we're going in a really positive direction. And before we end the show, I wanted just to get your score predictions for the game tomorrow.
Oh, I think Brighton carry some threat in attack, certainly, but I do fancy Arsenal to get the job done. As I say, I'm intrigued to see how Brighton come out tactically. So I'm going to go 4-1 to Arsenal. I can see maybe Brighton grabbing one back, but I do think Arsenal will be too strong.
Yeah, I think for us it'll probably be quite like a comfortable win. I'm thinking a bit like yourself, like maybe 3-0. But we know that they've got some great players, and I know on the counter attack, it'll be tough playing against them. But like you said, I think there's no reason why we can't go into this game believing in the team, believing in the players, and it'll be exciting to sort of see the lineup. Which players we have rotated, and I do hope some players get a rest that might need to get a rest, but. Yeah, I'm with you. I think we'll hopefully get another clean sheet. Hopefully, get a win. And I think it's an exciting season for us now, and I just can't wait to see that. But yes, the game will be on tomorrow, which will be super exciting. And Freddie, I've really enjoyed having you on today. It's been great to chat about Arsenal women. Do you want to just tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. You've been waiting for me all day because Leandro Trossard took absolutely ages to come out.
Don't worry about it.
You can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky, all the usual places actually, at Cardy Freddie, and then follow the Guna fanzine as well. I've got another Arsenal woman dedicated online fanzine coming out for free in the next week or so. We're hoping as well, so keep your eyes peeled for that. We've got a load of good writers and exciting content to come.
I love that. Yeah, and yeah, please do check out his stuff and give him a follow online. But thank you all so much for watching the stream tonight. I hope you all have enjoyed it. I hope you all are looking forward to the game tomorrow. I know the men's team is playing tomorrow as well, which will be exciting. But please do like this video, guys. Do subscribe here if you are new, and I will see you all very soon. Bye, guys.